Hi, this is CF Liu for Us CF and CF Liu channel. Now, in this lesson, as we move towards the year 2020, I want to share some insight with you if you were to be a property investor in the year 2020. So let's get right into this. Now, this is really a big mind map, so I'm going to walk you through each and every of these pointers that you should take care about. Now, the first thing, the core of what I'm covering today is actually a published news piece by someone called Siva Shankar, and Siva Shankar is really a highly respectable real estate personnel or real estate celebrity. Well, I wouldn't say that, but it's really an established person in the real estate industry without the normal connotation of being a property guru, as you know or have seen that already. And this is really his insights when he was invited to speak at the Edge Investment Forum on real estate in 2019. Now, one of the very important point that he mentioned is that it's a sign of times when property price are priced too highly for the average person to buy. And there's this growing phenomenon of a generation of renters. So more people can only afford to rent rather than to actually own a home. So we are really like movers towards like what we know like is happening in Hong Kong, right? But there are a few highlights here. And from his observation, now this is an insight for you as you want to become a property investor or you want to start your property investment journey in Malaysia. Very important, you know that more and more people will renting. Now that might seem like a very good thing, right, to know, but the thing is he's caused by salaries and income cannot keep up with increasing prices. People cannot buy house. However, that also means young people start to have this mindset, probably in their 20s, to say, hey, I really don't need to buy a home. Now that might seem like a good, like I say, a good problem, because basically, you know, the rental market will be so-called vibrant, but it will actually affect you if you have a property that you want to sell 5 years, 10 years down the road. Because even as of now, people or the new generation, people who start working already have this mindset of not needing to buy a house, because now in a highly mobile world, they can actually, I mean, not owning a house give you more mobility to say, this year I'm going to work in Malaysia, next year I'm going to Singapore, and then the next year, God knows who you're going, where you're going to work. Now it's about life experiences, and you see these are the trend when I want to share with you some of my clients who already invested in property for the past 10 years, maybe in the early 2000s, and then their property, they bought it like 100,000, but they want to sell it at 300, 400,000. Now supposedly those sub-sale property, their property which is like 15, 20 years old, could actually fit the budget and the salary of today's people, 20 something, that only start working. However, they still cannot buy that, cannot sell that. Why? Because the new generation, again, like what Siva Shankar say, they have the mindset they don't need to own a house, so they could be more mobile in terms where they want to stay, where they want to live and work. And the second thing is because let's put it that way, 20 something, if you were to buy a 20 years old property, there will be a high maintenance cost involved, and then probably they don't like the feel, the look, and the feel of this old property who are 20 years old. Okay, and it's not a glamorous thing to do. Imagine, compared to if you buy a new property, then you call for a housewarming with your colleagues and friends. So a lot of those younger people have a pride, right? Because this is a new property. But for an old property, not so much, you know, not so much. So therefore, they would rather either buy those new property, which probably cost $1 million or so. But if they cannot afford it, they rather not buy. And they rather actually defer their decision to actually buy a property. And according to Siva Shankar again, why is this? Why can't this new property be sold at a more affordable price? You know, government would always want to say that they have this developer to actually build and construct affordable housing. But the fact is this, right? Price of land continues to go up, and because the price of land is part of the cost for any property that is sold by any property developer. So this cost is passed to you as a property investor, or when you want to do property investment, which is why yes, the property price might have not gone up, but because the land price goes up, that is factoring into the so-called the developer land bank, the cost of the land bank. And developers, as you know, that back in 2011 to 2013, developers used to give a lot of discount and freebies to buyers. Now, even now, right? Even now, they give you huge discount, a lot of freebies like free aircon, pre-install, and they did something like no money down, free stamp duty. They cover the stamp duty, they cover legal fees, free everything. But you have to know that I have to agree with Shiva Shankar to say nothing is free. There's no free lunch in this world. Right? The thing is, it's just a matter of who actually borne the cost of so-called package at free. So they're going to add that into the building cost and going to sell you. Of course, this is just a marketing gimmick. All right. So people hear free, they like it very much. Now, the other thing is because really, there is really no alternative according to Shiva. There's no alternative asset class for a lot of people to invest. I mean, especially in Malaysia. So they're always too focused on residential property. If they have like, property, I have a lot of clients that have extra money, and some of them actually only look at to say that what property can I buy, what property can I buy, what property can I invest into. All right. So this actually distort the whole market. The gap between the have-nots and the haves actually widen. And you also have to understand that there is actually a more easier way to invest into property today. Not directly, and you actually invest not in residential property where a lot of people are focused on. You actually investing in commercial property, and you might think, hey Liu, what you are talking about, right? I mean, I thought commercial will be priced much higher. So it's really not everyone can actually invest into commercial property, but no, it's what I call as a proxy for commercial property investment. You don't have this tenancy hassle and loans to deal with, and that is called real estate investment trust, or REITs. Now, if you really want to actually check out some of the lessons I publish on my channel YouTube on REITs, you can actually go click on the lower upper right hand corner where it's popping up. Now that lesson actually gathers, I think it's getting like hundreds of thousands of views every single week. That's one of the most popular lessons video in this in CF channel. So I mean, after this exact sharing ends, I would really love you to actually check out on that. Okay, that is one of the most popular lessons, a proxy, that alternative asset class rather than direct property investment, but it's still the underlying asset is still what we call as a property, but commercial property. Okay, so moving on, the high selling price lead to a lot of many people to actually rent rather than to buy. And you know that furthermore, there's an oversupply of residential property in the market, what we call as a property overhang, and these are purchased both by the property investor that is able to hold for, that is intending to hold for long term, and there are also speculators that only want to buy and then flip it after the construction was completed. But the thing is, both of this group of people, property investor and speculators, they are also having a problem where, first, let's talk about the property speculator, the one who want to flip their property. They cannot flip it. Okay, they cannot let go of their units. And why is that so hard? Now I have an extensive another lesson that I've published previously on this topic. Why you are not able to sell your property fast. Okay, just click on the lower upper right hand corner where it's popping up, and then I mean, just digest that lesson after this lesson and this video end, and you could see what are the reason why they cannot sell. And because just for the sake of completeness, I also share with you about a property is as good as it is when it comes to it's near to where you want to stay, right? Where you want to stay, and then of course if it's near to where you want to work, it is a bonus point. But the thing is, with all this new generation being very mobile, and co-working space and all that, you actually slowly realize that property, when it comes to property, the location is not that important anymore. In fact, it's getting less important. Now actually this respected Shiva Shankar also highlighted this point, which I'm going to show you. But there are a lot of reasons why when people say property is all about location, when nowadays the trend has already changed, right? If you still think location is the number one thing when it comes to property investment, then slightly you are missing out on that. So location is no longer important. Now this is a very controversial point, but I really want to share with you why. There are a few reasons why location is getting less important, because there are other factors that are getting more important now. And I want you to check out another video that I've actually published in this channel, why location is getting less important. Now just click on the upper right hand corner after this video ends. Now there's a list of these resources about property investment. Sincerely yours from independent licensed financial advisor and not a property guru. So you balance out, you know, you listen to property guru, you also listen to people to actually advising a lot of clients on their investment, you know, which includes property as well. So back to here, they say that okay, they cannot sell after completion. So if they want to sell, but the speculator cannot sell. If you are the property investors, probably they don't want to sell. But regardless, they also fall back to the same problem, because there are so many units for rent. We are talking about a law of demand and supply here, right? It pushes down what I call is the push down the rental rates, right? Leading owners to being unable to cover for their mortgage repayment. So imagine you're renting only at 1,000, your mortgage is 2,500, then you have a negative. It's not an investment, because investment, yeah, I mean, it would lose investment. Even any investment cannot guarantee you make money. But when you have a property that actually lose money every month, I think that is a liability. It's not an investment anymore. If it continue for the 2-3 years, you know that it's really bleeding a lot of cash, and because of this oversupply, you really cannot cover your mortgage repayment. Now there are a few reasons also like for that, but if you really want to actually better your rental income, in case you are reading this and you are a property investor already, I also have another lesson published on that, right? Why your rental income cannot increase, and you know what you can actually do about that. So check out another lesson that actually I want to refer you to for this topic, which is popping up in the upper right hand corner, right? Why you always feel there's a rental issue and how you could actually mitigate the risk. Now back to what Siva Shankar say. He say there are, so the thing is, today is about tenants market. So they are spoiled for choices when it comes to the kind of property or the unit they can rent, right? Which is why they say it's a low entry cost of mobility. The easiness of moving. I mean, after your tenancy agreement actually ended, and you try to increase. Imagine you're a property investor playing the property investment game. You try to increase your tenants' rental after the tenancy agreement actually mature, and then you say, I'm going to increase you 20%, and they say, sorry, we are going to move it somewhere else, right? So that actually what keeps a lot of property investors stuck, or landlord actually stuck, because they are stuck with not able to raise the rent, because there's oversupply in the market. So a lot of people say, yeah, rental actually goes up by inflation, but actually it's not true, because due to this situation, it's a law of supply and demand. Okay, and I would really want to actually also tell you about this, is that a lot of what all laymen or Tom, Dick and Harry, you know, on the street, or what they only see is the buy process for property investment, right? What we see is the process or the scenario whereby a lot of people already having problem when it comes to your property investment, whether they cannot sell. I mean, the mortgage repayment is actually dragging them down, and then they feel that they're going bankrupt, is straining on the finances. These are the situations we see at the back end, but actually these situations are not talked about or even mentioned when you go to any property guru seminar and courses, and that is the problem. You have to know that this is the reality of this situation. I'm talking about the two opposite sides of the coin. Most people only want to see one side of the coin, but not the other side of the coin. So as you can see, this law of supply and demand, if this problem is further compounded, is further worsened by the fact that this property investor or speculator, when they actually, you know, buy that with this no money down technique or strategy, just bear in mind, okay, you could be happy for 1 year, but then your loan that comes with the property investment actually stretch out to 20-30 years. And this matter is worsened when people, a few years back, they try to do a lot of these multiple loan submission or loan compression, and they buy multiple units of the same project or the same building or the same condo or the same apartment, and that actually what kills a lot of people, right? cashback is really not free. It is, you have this amount of money but in your bank account because there's this cashback, you know, when or cash rebate when you apply this loan compression technique. Now I don't really highly recommend, actually, let me retract that, I don't want anyone to actually go into this huge debt, loan compression and all that, but you have to really understand what is loan compression and how dangerous it could be. Now I also have another lesson on that, on loan compression. You can check out what's popping up in the upper right hand corner. I've covered very extensive of what are the implications of a loan compression, what it is and all that. And if you check out the description below, I could even link you to a situation whereby a group of property bulk purchase property investor or speculator. They think they are so smart, they bought some property by their property guru, and then after a few years they are stuck, and then they actually go and try to find an auctioneer, right, a licensed auctioneer to solve their problem. But the licensed auctioneer, as you can see in this news piece, they say, sorry, even I cannot help you. All right, so they have nowhere to go. And do you think property guru are going to help you when you encounter this kind of issue after you bought? No, property guru, we've seen so many cases, people actually relate their tales to us of what they think property guru is, and then after they engage him, after, you know, the deal is done, the property guru, anything happened, the property guru just wash their hands, right? This is the thing that you need to understand. And further, what this Shiva Shankar has said is that, you know, if you're a property investor, it's not really all fine and dandy. You still have to manage tenant. It's not free money, really. It's not really passive incomes, right? But you know that there's new development coming on stream, then it will draw away potential tenant. And if you're looking at this terrace, Shiva Shankar actually advise you, rather than playing in a property kind of environment where the supply, where the overhang or the oversupply in the property units are actually focused on the smaller kind of square feet units, like studio apartment, like 600 square feet to 1000. So if you really want to invest in property, here's a tip for you. According to Shiva Shankar, you don't really want to invest into this kind of apartment because there's really an oversupply over here, okay, because these are called the smaller units. So if you really want to purchase property, he further add that you should go for terrace or semi-D houses, which are still popular and generally easier to sell, right? Or buy, as he mentioned, buy large, so-called large size apartment units. So this is what not to do and what are the things that you should do going forward, right? And again, this is coming from a veteran in this property investment industry, but he's not a property guru, but still, I would really take his advice. Say, don't buy 10 property in the same condo, right? As I mentioned, he said location is important, but it's not everything. So a lot of people who use this loan compression technique or through bulk purchase by property guru, they always want to buy like 2-3 units in the same project or the same condo. He said, no, don't do that, right? Don't follow the crowd, right? Don't follow the crowd. Don't put all your egg in one basket, right? Even though it's grade A as pitched by some property guru, you don't really want to do that, right? So to wrap this up, what can really kill you is that you do not want to be greedy, as there are no quick riches. A lot of people get into property investment game is because the mindset, the mentality, it attracts a lot of people who want to get rich quick, and they hate their job, they want to get rich quick. Now that is not going to get you rich quick, that's going to kill you even faster, because property investing is only for people who actually adopt a long-term play, they have enough cash flow, they actually have a stable career, they love the job, they love what they are doing. Yes, then you can jump into this property investing game, right? No quick riches. But ironically, it actually attracts a lot of people who with the mindset of get rich quick, because property have this leverage. Okay, you can borrow money and you can use loan compression, which I really think it should be outlawed. All right. Now it's very funny because when people say that they believe property investing, they get into the game because they think property is long term. Now this is really when I was engaging some of my someone like you, my YouTube subscriber. You know, someone actually dropped a comment to say that in the previous property investment lesson that I made, he said the whole presentation he thinks is flawed, and he disagreed with what I say on, you know, a lot of things about property investment, right? He said people who buy in it don't care about the price of the house in 30 years, and people who buy for investment will be renting out over 30 years, okay, getting the tenant to pay the interest. So he said it will be solid profit if you sell it 3 decades later. Now, he was so convinced. He was so convinced. Someone dropped me this comment after watching one of my previous video. But then I say that, I really want to understand what my YouTube subscriber like you, where they are coming from, where you have this comment. I mean, it's okay to disagree with what I say. If you disagree, just leave a comment below. I really appreciate also if you give it a like so far, if you really enjoy this, and subscribe as well, right? So you get very insightful lessons like this. So I try to understand where it's coming from. But he say he just like, you know, have a generalization to say property on the global market was always on the way up, right? So for every property investor I know, regardless of where they are in the world, they are rich millionaire. So I doubt he really knows what a true millionaire does. And he just actually read this from news, which you and I actually can read. Because he say for every property investor I know, he's probably referring to celebrities or those tycoons and all that. The problem is a lot of people have a perception of these rich people actually make money using property. No, they actually make money using their business. That will be the best investment. It's just that they have extra cash and they park this money into their property, into a lot of their large property portfolio. Now, you might be skeptical of what they say, I say, but here's another snippet of video I want to show you that actually further highlight this point.
Business is the #1 wealth creation vehicle in the history of the fucking world. Business. Because it is the only asset on the planet that has what's called a variable value proposition. Meaning, if you buy a property, you can only ever increase the value of that property based on what the market is willing to pay. Does this make sense? A business has exponential value because a business's value is determined by its cash flow, not the market. Hear this. The wealthiest people in this country have not made their money through property. The wealthiest people in this country park their money in property once they've made it in their business. And the more cash flow you can produce in the business, the more valuable that business becomes. But what a lot of people do is they go, oh, I've got to invest in property because that's how you make money. And they get every single fucking cent they can out of their business and they pull it out and they put it straight into property. And these properties sit there going, chick, chick, chick. And the business is like sitting there going, begging for fucking oxygen to grow, but they don't have any because you're sucking all the oxygen out and feeding into these fat fucking things sitting on a fucking curb. That's the truth. You want to get wealthy in this country? Fucking invest in your business. Put the money into your business. That's how money is made. That's how real money is made.
Here's the also a thing, and this is where people actually contradict themselves. So you see that when he say that property is a long-term play, right? But after, in a string of conversation, I want to understand more where he's coming from, right? And he finally actually admitted to say, he said the property investment is for my daughter who are just turning 20. I say that, whoa, someone who just turned 20, hardly even graduated from their university, and you want I mean, it's good to actually start your children on a path of investment, but I don't want any parents to actually give a huge debt burden on their children. Despite the fact they say property it's actually a good investment, but I really don't. I mean, if my parents would put a debt burden on me when I was 20, I would have freaked out, right? But he finally admitted, he said that despite the fact, he actually contradicted himself, despite the fact he said that property is for long-term investment, 30 years, but the reason why he want to get into property investment is because he want to have a quick turnaround. You see here? So he's in his 60, he because it's a good run in the property investment, but so that's why he said I want the same for my daughter as well. So I asked him, quick turnaround, do you mean like flipping a property? Let's say if you buy this year, you flip it 2 years later. He said no. In the UK, now obviously this person do not have a perspective of what's happening in Malaysia, right? But he said in the UK, flipping property means 2 to 3 months. So you buy a property today, in 3 months time you're going to flip it? I mean, I really are curious what kind of property ownership law are there. Is there no taxation? How about real property getting taxed? Can you actually do that? So when in Malaysia they say you flip it, it's around 2 or 3 years, right? You flip it like property speculator. In UK, you can do it in actually 3 months. My God. So you see, attract people with this kind of mindset who want to get rich quick and who want to speculate. And I think maybe in UK environment, this kind of flipping or every like three months of flipping, I just imagine this is why it's so hard to actually own a property in UK, because it is actually the price are artificially driven up by a lot of speculators, just like someone who is intending to do this. Now, here's the thing, I really love if you leave a comment. I mean, even if you disagree with me, you want to give me a dislike, and then you want me to give me a thumbs down, perfectly fine. I read every comment, including comments from trolls when I put out something like that, and they give me a middle finger or something like that, or even they say I'm total BS and all that. But for some of you, I know that this is going to help you. So that being said, I'm CF Liu, and if you like this, keep on subscribe, click on like, give me a thumbs up. And I mean, I have another lesson before we wrap for today, and that property, I know if you are just a beginner, newbie in property investment game, so you might want to watch this lesson first. Probably in the upper right hand corner, it is the property, the method is called PRRR method in property investment. This is a very simplified version of how a long-term property play you should adopt. That being said, I have another earlier I said about a proxy for property investment is alternative asset class, without actually getting yourself into a huge debt for property investing, but still you're exposed to commercial property investment. Anyway, in the world gives you a lot of flexibility, there's no tenancy hassle and all that. So a lot of our students are actually, they benefit from this lesson. One of the most watched lessons videos in this channel. Want to check out that at the screen after this lessons end. So this is CF Liu, and I will see you in another lesson.